All right, welcome back to the Prem Trifecta. It's been a minute. It's been a minute since you've heard from a Chelsea fan. Obviously, I've been busy, with life and exams and like whatnot. But we've got a bit of news that I do want to cover today. Two items in particular. First of all, the new left back who we recently signed, Pep Chavarria from Rayo Vallecano, or Pep Chavarria, whatever you want to say. As well as the news that Enzo Fernandez is leaving and the potential links that we do have with other midfielders that we may potentially sign. But first of all, let's talk about Pep, our new signing at left back. Obviously, deal was signed about a few days ago. We got the here we go. Contract was signed today, actually. The fee is 19 million plus 2 million add-ons for 28-year-old left back out of Rayo Vallecano. I'll be honest, before even knowing of this player being linked to us in Chelsea, I did not know him this much. But I did a bit of looking into him and heard a bit from other fans and whatnot about what he's about. He's a great 1v1 defender. He has his nickname in La Liga, maybe amongst the Rayo Vallecano fans, as being the king of 1v1s or the king of duels or something like that. He doesn't have the wing back potential that let's say a Marco Palestra is able to do, but he could play wing back, he could play left back. He's probably going to be more of the kind of the traditional more left back than he is going to be more of the wing back, although he could offer up in the attack if he needs to. So the best way to put it is this is very much a Xabi signing, where on the left hand side for the left wing back role / left back role, at least we do have a player who can play both the left wing back and the left back, provided that Marco Palestra is going to be our consistent right wing back from now on. And 19 million plus 2 million add-ons honestly is it's not the biggest fee in the world, so it's a risk to take. If the risk pays off, you got a fantastic player in here, and Pep Chavarria. But if it doesn't pay off, it's not the end of the world. You can always flip him, or 19 million plus 2 million add-ons isn't really a big fee that you're gonna look back on and be hey, maybe this wasn't the best thing. So for me, I personally think it's a great signing that Chelsea has made. Do I think it's even some remotely close to the talent that Cucurella has given us? No, I don't think at all. But I think the combination of having João Hato, Pep Chavarria, and Valentin Barco offers use three different left backs or players who can play left back / left wing back within the Chelsea locker. You could obviously have João Hato, who's more of a left-sided center back, or he could play as a traditional left back, which is more, or a fullback kind of role where he's more stationed in the left back role than he is going to be bombing up the field. You have someone like Valentin Barco, who is much more on the attacking side of things. If he was to play left wing back, really trying to bomb up the field, trying to have that good pass or crossing, and offers options in the attacking third. And Pep Chavarria is someone who could do both these things. And so we have three different options at left back. Three serviceable options in my mind. Nothing to the level of Cucurella, but the optionality is there, and obviously this is Xabi signing, so I'm going to back it until something else goes wrong. So that's my take on Pep Chavarria. But let's move on to the next topic, which we got news today that Enzo Fernandez is actually, or Man City has held talks already with Enzo Fernandez. Now it's deciding the fee. Obviously, big piece of news recently with Manchester City. First of all, we know that Rodri is going to leave Man City. That has been, I wouldn't say confirmed, but most likely to happen, probably to Barcelona, which is a hole for Manchester City. And Enzo Maresca has indicated that he wants Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Fernandez is also keen on joining Manchester City. The only problem is there has to be a fee between Man City and Chelsea to be agreed upon. And my take is this. My take is, first of all, on Enzo Fernandez leaving. For whoever thinks that Enzo Fernandez should not be leaving, you are a complete idiot. This is one of, I would personally say, one of our top three players in the team. He's a world-class midfielder. He is a player who shows up at the biggest moments, a big game player. To keep in mind, in this trash, in 4 seasons in a row, this guy's contributing, consistent 10 goal, 10 assists seasons. Last season with the senior, involved in this drastic season he had 10 goals, 16 assists in all competitions for Chelsea, which as a midfielder is a pretty good output. He brings fight to the pitch. He fights for a badge. He plays with pride, which is something validating in the Chelsea team. And every time we were in the dark spots and spaces and had to battle, it's always been Enzo Fernandez who's come up and been that one guy who's the big, if I put it one way, the one big player that we still do have who shows up consistently on an everyday basis. So it is going to suck to see him leave if he does end up leaving. Obviously, the fee is going to have to be in excess of £120 million, which is a big fee, which not a lot of teams are willing to pay. But if City's able to pay it, then they can have their player, and it becomes us looking out to the market. So then I guess the third topic of the day is kind of looking at the big signings that we do have. Chelsea still does want to get a marquee signing done. We've heard this multiple times. Maybe some reports today before the Enzo Fernandez news came out suggesting that they weren't going to do, but I think now that this is done, I think we are going to be starting to look for that marquee signing, probably in midfield. It would be linked to a few players. Obviously, Alex Scott, but I think the rumors kind of died down in a bit. And I think in the previous video, we've already heard my take on Alex Scott. Adam Wharton as well, which I think is a very different player from Enzo Fernandez. He's not that like box crasher type of player that, you know, we've seen Enzo Fernandez do, so we're going to be drying up in that sense. But I think the player that I do want to highlight the most, which I think is the most interesting, but I don't think it's going to get done, but it would be really cool if we do, is Fabian Ruiz. If Chelsea is able to bring in Fabian Ruiz, this is probably a statement signing, I would say. You make, like, the best way to put it is, like, under Blueco, we've always signed young players. This was broken this year, signing more experienced players. Obviously, Maxence Lacroix is one. Jordan Henderson, Danny Welbeck, although we didn't pay big fees for them, are also two highly experienced players, so that broke the model. But the one thing that we haven't seen yet is Chelsea paying a high fee for a big player who is in their prime, which you have not seen under Blueco. But it's something that under the Roman Abramovich area we saw a lot. And if Fabian Ruiz is able to get over the line, that's a revolutionary signing to basically say, hey, Chelsea has completely changed the model in which they operate. You were signing a 30-year-old, two-time Champions League winner, one-time World Cup winner, obviously with Spain, top player who can come into the starting lineup and really be, you know, a top midfielder for this Chelsea team. And the one thing that we do miss in the midfield is obviously height, you know, and physicality. Obviously, we have Caicedo and Enzo, who are very physical players, but they don't have the height to win headers, win duels, so on and so forth. But Fabian Ruiz, 6'2", can come in and offer these things up to Chelsea, on top of being a box-to-box midfielder. He could play on the defensive side, he could play on the attacking side, which, you know, in a Xavi team where I feel like Caicedo is going to be more of a player who's tasked with, I guess, being more of a deep-lying guy, or more of a destroyer than we've seen him in previous systems. Having a player like Fabian Ruiz who could, you know, be that box-to-box guy bombing up and down the field would be huge for the Chelsea team and really create a balanced midfield that we may see. So, you know, I do think the, if I were to put it one way, I do think the worry that I have in terms of this team is hopefully Enzo Fernandez doesn't leave. I do want him to stay, first of all. But if he does leave, hopefully we bring in a signing to replace him. Now that we have Fabian Ruiz, I do want Fabian Ruiz. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. I think it's just going to be a rumor. Maybe we're exploring interest, but I don't think that's going to be something that actually materializes. But even if it's something like an Alex Scott or Adam Wharton, I wouldn't be like the most, you know, sad in the world. Obviously, it's a big downgrade of Enzo, but you know, it's something that, like, if I were to put one way, considering the entirety of this transfer window, I still think we built a very strong team that can go and compete. You know, I think top 4 for sure, but like, could we see us competing for top 3, top 2 finish? You know, you never know. With the team that we have built, I think we built, you know, structured out something very strong, and I wouldn't be like the worst, like feel the worst in the world of Enzo, at least. It would hurt, but it's not like a big thing in the world. And we've always seen as a club, like, we've lost big players in the past, and we've been able to succeed afterwards. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, that's enough for me. Hopefully you guys tune into the next episode of the Prem Trifecta. And, you know, I'll catch you guys later.